Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum class. I'm Zahmid. I welcome you to English grade 7 video lessons. Now, my dear learners, we are going to cover our very first SLO from unit number 4. The title is The Empty Pot. So, this is the competency of grammar. It's our lecture number 1, and we are going to deal with the SLO, of which the topic is simple past tense. Now, let's get started by reading and understanding our students' learning outcome so that we can successfully achieve it by the end of the video lesson. So, our SLO is recognize the form and various functions of simple past tense. So, we are supposed to learn about and recognize different forms and various functions of the tense, which is our simple past tense or past simple tense. This is our breakdown of our students' learning outcome. So let's get started. But before that, I would like to remind you that you have covered a similar SLO in the previous grade. In that one, you talked about the past perfect tense. Now, in this one, we are going to see the past simple tense. Now, my dear learners, for the brainstorming activity, we have a very interesting question for you. So, how can you describe events that happened in the past? Now, something that has already happened, which we call in the past, how do you describe and make sentences in your speech and writing? Can you come up with the answer and pause the video, think about it, and come back quickly so that we can move further with our topic, which is about past simple tense. Now, from your book, page 28, let's recall, if you remember, the simple past tense or the past simple tense is used to indicate an action completed in the past. It often occurs when adverbs or adverb phrases of past time. Now, so past is something that has already happened. We are here in the present. So, how do we describe something that has happened in the past? So, we indicate actions that are already completed somewhere, sometime in the past. So now it includes sometimes adverbs or adverb phrases with it to indicate the location or the time. Let's look at an example. Ping lived with his parents in a wooden cottage in a countryside village. Now you can see that some adverbs and adverb phrases are used to give us a full information. She taught him everything she knew about gardening. How can you recognize that these two sentences are of simple past tense? Now, it is recognized by the past form of any verb. So, live will be lived, teach will be used as taught. Sometimes this tense is used without an adverb of time. In such cases, the time may be either implied or indicated by the context. Often the case that there are no adverbs or adverb phrases and no indication of time, but that is totally understood and the meaning is implied. For example, Ping filled a flower pot with rich soil. Now, this does not have any adverb or adverb phrases. Next one is, I did not sleep well. So, this is a past tense sentence, but no adverb, no time is given because it is understood that the speaker or the writer is talking about the last night, which is implied. It can be easily understood. So, past simple tenses, when we are using in our sentences, they are coming with adverb or adverb phrases, and also sometimes there are no adverb or adverb phrases, but the meaning and the time is implied in the sentences. Now, let's talk about the simple past, which is also used for past habits. So, if you used to have habits that are no longer being practiced, you could use the simple past tense. For example, he used to study many hours every day. So, this word indicates that it is something that happened in the past, and this is a habit or a routine. Now, she always carried an umbrella. So, this also is a simple past tense used in the sentence, and you can clearly see that the verb is having a second or a third form of participle. Now, we know that verbs are of two types, regular verbs and irregular verbs. So, regular verbs form their past tense and past participle by adding ed or d at the end of the word. For example, we have these base form of words like walk or discuss, and if you convert them in the past form, and if you actually use the second or third form, you could say walked or discussed. Now, such verbs are actually called regular verbs because we are just adding ed at the end or simply the letter d. Now, all these kind of verbs having ed or d at the end are called our regular verbs. So, for irregular verbs, they form their past tense and their past participle in a different way than these two. Let's take our base form of words sit and eat. We know that their past tense and past form are not like the one we discussed earlier. They are irregular. Like sit will be sat and eat will be ate. Or their past participle will be sat and eaten. So, such kind of verbs that are not having ed or d at the end and they have different past form and past participles, they are called our irregular verbs. Now, moving on, that when do we use past tense or when do we use our simple past tense? Now, we use our simple past tense when we are describing past habits or routines. It can be used to describe actions that were habitual or routine in the past. Like, she always played with her dolls as a child. Now, this is something which is a habit or a routine of the girl who used to play with her dolls as a child. You can see that the form of verb here is of past participle. Next one is, he used to go to the cinema every weekend. So this word used to is telling us that it is something of a habit or a routine. My dad often went fishing when he was younger. Now, this is also telling us a habit or a routine. I usually read comics when I was a kid. So, all these are examples of if you're telling about your past routines or habits that are no longer practiced, but they are something that you used to do in the past. So, you could say all these kind of things in these ways which the examples are written. So, number one is that we describe our routines or habits from the past. And another thing of why we use our simple past tense is when we are talking about completed actions, actions that are completed and in their full form and in their completion. We use past simple to talk about actions or events that happened at a specific time in the past and are already finished or completed. For example, I visited the museum yesterday. They went to the park last night. She finished her homework an hour ago. All these are telling us actions which are completed. For example, I visited the museum yesterday. So this person is telling us that he or she has visited the museum yesterday. It is a complete action. So we are talking about completed actions when we are using our past simple tense. Now, we know that there are different forms of tenses. Now, how do we form a positive or a negative or something in an interrogative form or a question form? We can use simple tense in all these forms, simple past tense in all these three forms. Let's look at one by one. So, to form a positive sentence using the past simple tense, you will start with the subject, add the past form of the verb, and pay attention to the regular or irregular verbs. Now, let's look at an example. I walked along the beach at sunset. Now, can you tell me if walked is a regular or irregular verb? Yes, it is a regular verb because ed is added at the end. We went to the zoo last weekend. Now, here the form of go or going is went. So this again is a irregular verb because the whole word is changed into something else. Now you can see that these are positive forms of verbs and they are positive past simple tense because we started with the subject, added the past form, and we took care of the regular or irregular verb. This is how you form a positive form or sentence using the past simple tense. Now, let's talk about the negative form. We will be using did not or the contraction of did not, the short form which is didn't, before the base form of the verb to form negative sentences. For example, he didn't play soccer last week, they didn't eat pizza for dinner yesterday, or he didn't study for his exam last night. So all these sentences, they include a negative form which is did not. Now, let's talk about the question form. You will be beginning with did, add the subject, and then add the base form of the verb. Let's look at some examples. Did they watch the race? Or did she visit the museum last weekend? Or did he do his homework yesterday? So did comes first, and then we add our subject, and then we added the base form of the verb, which is the simple form of the verb. You will not changing it into past form or past participle form because we have already used did, which is already a past form of do. So we don't need to change visit into visited or watch into watched because we are at the very first at the start of our sentence, we are using the word did, which is already in the past form. So this is how you make a question form of any sentence when you are saying it in the past simple tense. Now, after learning about all these forms, here is a simulation video that you could watch for a better understanding. You can watch it right after watching this video lesson to learn more about past simple tense. Here we have your classroom activity from book page 28. You have to choose the correct option for each of the statements. We are here with our worksheet. You could get it from the description of the video. You will be handed over by the teacher or the instructor to put your learned concept into practice. And here we have our homework from page 28. Create a daily routine diary for a typical weekday or weekend day. You should include activities using simple past tense you do regularly throughout the day from when you wake up to when you go to bed. And you will be using the past simple tense. And you could use any of the three forms if they are appropriate, the positive, negative, or the question form of past simple tense. Now here we are at the end of our video lesson with some resources. All these resources are available in the description of the video. They will help you in understanding more about your past simple tense. Now, my dear learners, I thank you for listening, and I hope that we have achieved our students' learning outcome by the end of our lesson. We talked about past simple tense, we defined it, and we also saw that they are used for completed actions, showing completed actions, or describing routines or habits. And we also saw the three forms of using them with positive, negative, and question or interrogative form. Till the next video lesson, Allah Hafiz.